How is it possible that producer A has only a few thousand streams, yet makes more money than most 9 to 5s, while producer B has over 1 million streams, a fully booked calendar, and is still stressed about making ends meet? It's because producer B still follows the advice that just getting good enough and uploading enough music will automatically lead to a successful career in music as well. But even if you get lucky and you have a few viral hits, you have to repeat the success over and over again to stay relevant in the game. This is why I break down 4 real ways producers are using to make a reliable full-time income that doesn't rely on streams, gigs, or any record deals. These aren't hacks or dreams. These are the systems that all my clients and hundreds of producers that I've analyzed are using. But first, let me show you what might happen if you keep following the strategy of producer B and the reason most producers spend their years chasing gigs, stressed about streams, and never knowing where the money is coming from. So let's have a look at the curve. Producer B spent 5 years constantly uploading new music and networking with booking agents and label owners until he finally comes to the point where the money from streams and shows is enough to replace his income. Now he's a full-time producer, only making music and playing shows. Seems like the dream, right? But let's have a closer look at the income. The red income all stems from income he has little to no control over, because it depends on the decisions of other people. And the green income shows the income that is completely in his control and gives him financial stability. So if we look at producer B, we see that his income is mostly depending on factors like whether his sound stays trendy, bookers and labels still back him up, or whether his body and mind can handle the touring lifestyle. So when we look at producer A, on the other hand, he is completely in control over his income, which gives him more financial stability and the freedom to focus more on the projects he really wants. So let's have a look at the 4 different ways to make an income like producer A. Stick with me to the end, because then I'll tell you the secret to make these ways actually work. So to show you the first way, I want to tell you the story of one of my clients, Daniel. A few years ago, he was an up-and-coming tech house producer in the Berlin underground scene. The part of producing he got really into was the engineering, so tweaking the sound in a way that would get the best possible response on the dance floor. Since he was playing 2 to 3 gigs a week, he had the unique opportunity to finish a track on Thursday, test it in the club the same night, adjust it the next day, test it again, and then finish it on Saturday with the best possible setting. So he quickly got a signature sound, and soon enough, other producers were knocking on his door and asked him to mix and master their tracks. He realized that there was an actual career in this, and he used the money from gigs and from the mixing and mastering work to build and fund his own studio. Now he has the income from his studio that gives him a fixed controllable income, which leads to more creative freedom with his several artist projects and allows him to just play the shows he really wants. So way number 1 is audio engineering, like mixing and mastering. So you figured out how to sound really professional and you help others to sound professional too. This path should be interesting for you. If you've got a sharp ear, you actually enjoy tweaking the same sound 200 times, you're the producer friends come to when their mix feels off but they don't know why, and you can take and implement feedback you might not totally agree with. Because when you are offering mixing and mastering, you're a service business. And in service, your customer is always right. So you might sometimes have to swallow that they have a different vision than you have. But if you're like me and you don't like all this fiddly engineering work, and you like to hire experts like him to do the work for you, the next way might be more for you. Another one of my clients, Dion, also used to be an up-and-coming touring DJ, and quickly leveled up to become a prodigy producer as well. But when he submitted his tracks to a big label, something really unexpected happened. They told him that they really loved his music, but unfortunately they can't sign him because his brand wasn't big enough to match the label's identity. But what really surprised him was that the label still wanted to buy the track from him and sign it under the name of a different artist on their label. And on top of that, he would be generously paid for that. Soon enough, he was in such a high demand that he was producing full-time. Not only did the label get him every piece of gear and software that he wanted to, he also got to produce every day and get better at his craft day by day. In this time, he even charted several times in the Beatport Top 10. But how come you might have never heard of this successor? It's because he was legally strictly prohibited to tell anyone that he produced those tracks. You probably figured that path number 2 is ghost producing. While it can be very lucrative financially and can easily give you the opportunity to make music full time while working on your own brand, this way isn't for everyone. This path is for you When you are a versatile producer who understands trends, really like to write music, you're good in building a network, and the most important of all, you're able to put your ego aside. It can be very hard at times to see your music charting for others while your own releases don't get any traction. So this is why we're now working together to build his own brand for his music and to fund his career in a different way that looks like this. Now I want to show you another one of my clients, Brandon. After falling in love with house music, he quickly decided to start DJing and to learn music production. And in only 4 years, he went from being a full-time raver to becoming a full-time music producer, without any significant streaming numbers or gigs. Instead, he realized that he found a very fast and efficient way to learn music production. And since he was studying to become a fitness coach, he learned the fundamentals of helping and coaching others to become a better version of themselves. So he started a YouTube channel where he teaches how to make minimal deep tech house, a subgenre that wasn't really covered yet by bigger channels, but still big enough to grow an audience. And soon enough, YouTube delivered him enough clients to quit his day job. Fast forward till today, helping hundreds of students, he launched his own teaching platform. And in just 4 weeks of working together, he was able to double his performance on social media and to double his income. Imagine to double your streaming income and booking fees in this time. If you don't massively blow up overnight, that's fairly impossible. So income number 3 is knowledge transfer, like coaching or teaching. This way is for you if you genuinely like helping others to grow. You don't mind repeating yourself or revisiting fundamentals, and you're good at explaining things in a simple and clear way. This path can be one of the easiest to build, and the income possibilities are basically limitless. Because when you see that educational platforms like Syntho, a house music platform for instance, made close to €1 million last year. But if you don't like to constantly work with other producers and you rather work and build on something in the back end on your own pace, the next story might be more for you. The next story I want to share is Jules from Bound to Divide. He isn't one of my clients, but I found his heartwarming and inspiring story on his YouTube channel. When he discovered music production, he swore to himself that within the next 5 years, he's gonna work full-time as music producer. He tried several music businesses in his lunch breaks and after work, but unfortunately they all failed. And even worse, after getting laid off from his job, he barely makes enough money to get by and pay his bills, which leads him to a very tough decision. Either he goes back to a safe 9 to 5, but probably means that he will be tied to a desk for the rest of his life. Or he goes against the advice from all his friends and family to go deeper in debt and to keep chasing his dream. Of course, he chose the second option and doubled down on his YouTube channel where he uploaded tutorials. That's when everything changed, because from his YouTube, he leads people to his sample shop where other producers could buy the sounds he was using in his tutorials. Soon enough, he made enough money from this path that he not only managed to survive, but he was also able to pay back all his debt. And finally, he was living his dream life as a full-time music producer and even playing shows all around the world once in a while. So path number 4 is digital assets, like project files, templates, or sample packs. Basically, drag and drop solutions that make other producers' tracks better instantly. This path is good for you if you're comfortable with making content that shows how you work, like tutorials or breakdowns. You understand your niche and genre well, and you can create packs that other producers in that style would really like. You don't mind stepping into the world of e-commerce, and you're patient because this model compounds over time, especially since it takes time to grow an audience. And now let's get to the secret to build multiple income streams, to build a career in music. As you can see, Daniel, Dion, Brandon, and Jules are all making a full-time living from music. But not because they're using their biggest strength as a competitive advantage, but because they use their strengths to make others better. In other words, the amount of stable income you can create grows exponentially to the amount of value that you can create for others. If you make others better, they make you rich. So if you want to learn how to build a reliable income for your music business as well, but you just don't know where to start, click at this video here where I show you step by step how you can build a sample pack business from scratch.